It's a bit like the Commonwealth Games, the Olympics, the closing ceremony, isn't it? Maybe not as exciting, and I'm afraid there's not going to be any singing this year. We thought long and hard, and then we thought you'd all run away before. So it's been a great pleasure for us to chair the sessions. One of my observations was that it's the first time that I've really had to pay attention to everything. So being a chair is actually quite good, because often I go to the things that I want to do, and then I start drifting away into emails and all of these kind of things. I think from our side of the house, or certainly from my side of the house, it's been absolutely wonderful and really rewarding. And again, to all of you, if you ever get the opportunity to chair something like this, grab it with both hands, because it's been a great experience from this side. Now, we set a task at the beginning of the conference. We asked you to really start streaming and sorting the content under. So is it up? Yeah. Okay. Under community, educate and innovate. And you've done that. You've sifted some of the sessions under these headings. Not surprisingly for alt. Community and educate is a dead draw. And most of the things you're seeing here are all about innovation. Under the educate. Can I have another slide after this? Yeah. Okay. Under the educate strand. And I'll really just do a quick reflection of what I saw. My background is mainly further education. I came down actually quite excited to see what was happening in the Feldtag space down here, and actually also quite worried that that somehow FE were going to steal a jump on Scottish further education. And good and bad. In a way, it's bad that I think maybe the expectations of Feldtag and what's happening isn't quite as much as it could be, and I think there's still a lot of scope for the further education system in the UK to work together around some of this. I think, but it's great that the aspiration is there, and that was my big take from the educate strand, and I'll hand over to one of my colleagues now.
Thank you. Yeah, what Joe didn't say, if I can just go back a slide, I'll try and do that. Yeah, these are set up actually, so you can click on these and go and have a search through while we're talking, just see what people have put up there. What was very interesting was that it was very active initially, and then like a typical student activity, it all went very quiet. But please feel free to use those tweets, and you can have a look at what people did put up there. The Innovate strand, I was delighted we got the most. That was brilliant. Thought there was going to be lots of innovation. I've just got a few points here, things that I picked up, and reflections on innovation through the conference. First one's a bit negative, well, possibly negative. There was a lovely statement in an early presentation I was at that learners don't always think that what we do is innovative, and what we're creating is are innovations, because they take these things for granted. And I thought that was really interesting. This was somebody who didn't get any comments back on the technology produced for his students. They just used it and did it. So actually that's good in a way. And another point I picked up about learners was some sort of lovely presentation again, where learners had been the innovators, and it was drawing on innovations that learners had brought to a project. So that was great. But what I think has been striking for me at this particular conference is how many innovations that have been taking place at the level of the individual institution that I've seen, how many projects people have been presenting. And it's been really, really fascinating to hear about the things that people are developing, the experiences, their evaluation, and so on. And the openness with which people are sharing these innovations. Because it took me back to one of the points that Catherine Cronin made in her keynote speech, was about the importance of being open, and the fact that being open then opens up new opportunities. So I think the sharing that we're doing is really important. Another point that came through to me is that the sharing is really important, because actually, as well as the case studies, which are great, we also need longitudinal studies, and we need the sort of cross-sectoral studies, and that came through in a presentation on mobile devices to me earlier this morning again, that we need, as well as these case studies, we do need to look at experiences across the whole community. So really, just to pick up again on things that Catherine and Audrey said as well, we need to keep telling these stories of innovation, and we need to share them, and we need to build on them, and make sure we're sharing our experiences. So that was just a few of my reflections on innovation.
Okay, thank you. So the third theme that we asked you to think about was community. And the three areas of that were interaction, engagement, and participation. Well, what can I say? It's just been wonderful over the last couple of days to see people talking to each other, introducing themselves to each other, engaging online in the Twitter stream, blogging, all kinds of interaction going on. It's really been wonderful. And certainly as chair of several sessions during the conference, it's been very clear to me that there is a relaxed, friendly atmosphere and that people are happy to ask questions during sessions. There's been lots of toing and froing and discussions, and that's been very stimulating as well. And of course, during the coffee breaks and lunches and social evenings, there's been quite a buzz and lots of fun, lots of laughter, which is wonderful to see. The wonderful keynotes as well brought us together, and they challenged us intellectually and also practically, but in many cases also emotionally. And I think that's something that's quite important to keep the community together and to remind us that we're dealing with people, we're dealing with students, we're dealing with colleagues, and we mustn't forget the human side of what we're trying to do with technology. So as well as that, we had some lighter moments as well, and I quite liked on the Twitter stream, I don't know if any of you picked up on the fashion angst that was going on amongst the male delegates. Shirtgate. How many check shirts did you manage to spot? We also had a number of alt-cheese selfies, which were very entertaining. And I have to say, one of my favourite tweets of the whole conference came from Alt itself, and it came last night when they tweeted, "Drunks are now being served in the exhibition area, please come and join us." So I think a good time has been had by all. So the pleasant task that we have now is to thank all the people who have been involved in putting this wonderful conference together. I'm just going to go through a list. There are so many that we can't possibly name them individually, but I'm just going to go through a list, and if you bear with me while I go through this list, then we can thank everyone all together at the end. So we need to thank, first of all, our sponsors and partners, without whom we wouldn't have such a great exhibition and many of these social events. Exhibitors, programme committee, the editors, the session chairs, the online conference coordinators, all the presenters, of course, yourselves, all the participants, and above all, the entire staff team who have worked so hard in the background over the last year to make this conference happen. We'd also like to thank Caroline Greaves, Alt's events manager. This is her final conference with Alt. She's actually moving on after being with Alt for 3 years. So I wish you could join me now in thanking all of those people who have helped to make this conference a success that it has been. And just before we finish this, I'd also like to thank the team at Warwick, who have also been working very hard to make this successful for us. So could you please give a special thanks to Amber Thomas and the technical team at Warwick University. And with that, we can now breathe a sigh of relief.
Present the prize.
Oh, yes. Oh, do you want to do that? You can do that. I'll do that. Okay. One more thing.
One more thing. We wanted to award a little prize, because we did suggest at the beginning, Joe suggested he would award a prize. And although it was going to be for somebody tweeting with our hashtags, in the end we decided we'd award it to somebody who's tweeted in an innovative way to help educate the alt community. So we've got a small prize that, if Simon is here, we'd like to award to him. Has he gone?
Simon here, or one of his colleagues here? Simon Thomas?
Thompson? No. Oh, that's a shame, isn't it? Oh, we had a little treat for him. But anyway, perhaps we can get Martin to design him a special badge. To take we can, yes, Joe chose the treat.
We're not that bad. We had this for him too. We might get it to him.
We'll have to share him with the next one. Okay.
Okay. It's now our pleasure to hand over the reins to next year's co-chairs, who are Liz Masterman and Amanda Jeffries, and delighted to welcome them to take over the reins for next year's conference.
And actually, our first duty is to thank the outgoing chairs on behalf of Maren and the rest of the team at ALT. So if you would join with us in thanking the outgoing chairs for all their hard work. Okay, so it's been a great conference this year. We're really looking forward to seeing you all in Manchester next year. The dates are 8th to the 10th of September. I don't know how many conferences we've done between us, Liz. I reckon I've been at least a dozen old conferences. So I should introduce myself. I'm Amanda Jeffries. I'm from the University of Hertfordshire, where I'm a reader in technology enhanced learning. And Liz?
I work at the IT Services Department in the University of Oxford as a research manager in academic IT.
Right, so what we have chosen for the conference title, with approval of the trustees, is Shaping the Future of Learning Together. And we want to provide an overarching theme of shaping and looking to the future, particularly looking at an active participation in the future of learning by designers, learning participants. And that title can also be deconstructed into combinations of those four words: shaping, future, learning together. So those of you considering, we hope lots of you will support the conference next year: shaping learning, future learning, shaping together, learning together. And we really want to think about the beneficiaries in each area of activity. They're no longer passive recipients, not just consumers, but taking part in their learning together, taking an active part in the design and shaping of their experiences. And we are really strongly encouraging student participation as well. So there's a partnership principle in the title: learners, tutors, learning technologists, researchers and learners, academics and learning technologists, students globally with their peers. So as Liz talks about the areas of focus, we hope you get thinking about how you can share some of your excellent work.
So we believe this title offers the opportunity to include a number of themes from both established and emerging research and practice. So the first is harnessing the power of the crowd, collaboration, connectivist learning and crowdsourcing. So collaborative and more recently connectivist models of learning, with learners learning from each other in communities, and of course these can include MOOCs. But we're also bringing under this heading crowdsourcing projects which involve the public as citizen scientists, as in Galaxy Zoo, if anybody is aware of that one, or contributors to digital collections. For example, there are a lot popping up now around the centenary of the First World War. And these collections can act as resources for both formal and informal learning and research. Social media in learning and teaching, as we saw from Catherine's keynote yesterday, social media can afford more participatory approaches to teaching and learning with staff and students working together. Open educational practice that's going beyond merely sharing and reusing OER to exploring open pedagogic models that envisage a flatter relationship between teachers and learners creating openly licensed resources as the output from their learning activities. We'd also like to hear about initiatives to share open educational pedagogic practice too. Learners as agents of change embraces the various initiatives under the heading Students as Change Agents. We're also interested in presentations about students as co-researchers, as co-designers of their own and other students' learning experiences, and students as developers of learning technologies in their own right, for example, the JISC Summer of Innovation. So we encourage, as Amanda said, students to participate in the conference too. And then finally, participatory methodologies for the development of learning technologies, both hardware and software, with intended users of such technologies being actively involved in requirements gathering, design and development. And we feel that all these areas are relevant in different ways to all sectors of post-16 formal learning, education, as well as to informal learning. And of course there's scope for theoretical papers and thought pieces as well as accounts of practice.
Right. So, come and join us in Manchester. Let's shape the future of learning together. And we look forward to seeing lots of you. Please take flyers as you leave and look out on the website. All the details are on the flyers of when the dates for submissions. So we look forward to next year.
And have a good year.
Yes.
And that, without further ado, is the end of this year's annual conference. We'd like to thank you again for coming. We hope you've enjoyed the last 3 days as much as we have. We wish you a safe journey back home. And you do get a flyer for next year where we will hope to welcome you again in Manchester. Thank you very much, and goodbye.